What
What?
is this harsh, frozen landscape? Is it a dark mountain of snow in the Alaskan wilderness?
No, 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 no. I think it's a close up of an Australian venomous spider's back. I think that's what we're looking at.
It could be. It could be the tortured follicles of a particularly ill-tempered and presumptive nominee of the GOP. But we'll never know. It's impossible to tell. We
Right.
just can't be certain. Hi, I'm Tom Cunningham,
I'm Joy Stevens.
and this is Steel Sharpens Steel. We are here. We are back. We are glad to be here with you. We want to welcome into the commentos, of course, Anthony Turner.
And what I tell y'all, y'all got to get here early in the morning to beat Anthony. And he lets you
Got to
know.
get up.
Anthony is the first three comments on here.
It's,
He's like, just in case, a rusted toupee.
it, it does look rusty,
Mhm.
rusty and dusty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. So glad to see you here. So glad to see everybody joining us. Yeah, we are twinning it. We are
Mhm.
twinning right now. We got the black uh,
Black on yellow.
channeling. Yeah, black and yellow, black and yellow. Well, I wasn't expecting that, but that is funny. Welcome, everybody, to the show this week. We do have a lot to talk about. There's quite a bit that has happened, not the least of which is the beginning of the GOP primary season. Last week, we talked about the Iowa caucuses and Ron DeSantis bowing out after his second place finish, which really tells you something.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, after he endorsed Trump, and it looked like Trump was being nice to him, and everything was kind of copacetic between the two of them, there was an interesting proposal that was offered in the Florida state legislature about paying Trump's legal fees. And a congressperson from the state, or a representative from the state of Florida, wanted to use $5 million of Florida taxpayer money to help Donald Trump pay his legal fees,
Yeah.
which, when you think about it, is kind of crazy. I don't know why. All right, go Tigers. That's right. I don't know why someone would try to do that. It sounds ludicrous on its face. Donald Trump has more than enough money to pay his own bills. Not that he's paying any legal bills
Yeah.
anyway, but he's got more than enough.
Why would you think that he needed your extra $75? And honestly, why would you give it to him if he's supposed to be so rich and so financially savvy and so innocent? Why does he need your donation?
Well, so here's the interesting thing. DeSantis started off his high profile political career by kissing Trump's ass. I mean, he was running for governor. He had a commercial where he was building a wall with his son.
I'm on to
Well,
something here. So you know how DeSantis lacks the ability to smile properly?
mhm.
It's because he's been kissing Trump's ass, and that waft of hot garbage and terror has forced him, it permanently damaged his facial nerves. And so he's been around Trump's funk, especially at the core of it all, to now the way he smiles is just,
Well, it's almost like he has pink lips.
is that like pink eye?
It is like pink eye,
That's nasty.
conjunctivitis.
I think that would be called herpes.
It could be herpes. It could be herpes, but
It could be herpes, bro.
let's take a look at what Governor Ron, no longer sanctimonious because Trump retired that. This is what Ron did. He threatened to veto the $5 million of state funds for Trump's legal fees, prompting the rep who made the initial or floated the proposal to withdraw it. So he just, not that $5 million was going to do all that much. I mean, he's got a lot of legal fees, but the idea that you love Trump that much that you
Mhm.
try to do something like that is kind of.
I mean, it was a stunt to begin with. The person that put up that proposal knew or had to know that that wasn't a good idea. The state of Florida is not flush with money, and Disney keeps threatening them to pack up and leave, do whatever they want. So you can't just throw away $5 million of taxpayer money to help some other dude who don't even live there with his legal fees that he can totally afford if he has the money that he says he has. It was a
Absolutely.
bad idea.
Horrible idea.
Mhm.
Dumb.
So DeSantis actually did the right thing.
He did.
You
He
know?
did the absolute. I mean,
Mhm.
among a whole series of things which are horrible and not right, this particular thing he actually made the right call on,
Mhm.
and the fact that it jabs Trump in the eye, and the fact that he has not appeared on a stage with Trump to support him is very interesting.
Mhm. And it's very possible that, I mean, DeSantis doesn't have a lot of support in the state, but he has some.
Right.
And depending on how things go over the next 6 months, if he garners a little bit more or just manages to swing them around to, hey, don't vote for that guy, there's a very good possibility that Trump doesn't carry Florida.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say a good chance that he
I'm
doesn't
in
carry,
a,
but
well,
it's
yeah, yeah,
possible.
yeah. We have to see how things, does Florida have a primary?
Oh yeah, they have a
Hmm.
primary. I don't think there's
They
any
don't have a
question.
caucus. Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
no, oh, no, it's not a caucus; it's a primary. Uh,
Mm.
I find it very difficult to imagine a scenario in which he doesn't take at least the primary. And I mean, it's still MAGA country. I find it
Yeah.
difficult to fathom a possibility of him not taking it in the general. To be honest, I mean, things have changed. There are some situations that have changed. Roe v. Wade, all that sort of stuff can make an impact.
Mhm.
But I think it is likely if he is the nominee that Florida may be out of play, which doesn't mean all very much in the overall scheme of things. He didn't
Yeah.
win Florida. Biden didn't win Florida in 2020, so it wasn't a necessary piece of
Right.
this puzzle. But we're not getting anywhere near Obama 2008 on
Oh,
that.
absolutely not.
We're nowhere near that map. And so the question just becomes really, with all of these things going on, Bonnie Willis being pushed definitely until after the uh, the election, trouble with Jack Smith, both in Mar-a-Lago because Eileen Cannon is slow rolling it as much as she possibly can, and then there's this stuff about whether or not presidential immunity and the district judges, taking their own sweet time. So March 6th is probably not going to happen, which means the first thing that might actually come to trial, and I don't know that this is particularly impactful, but the first trial would probably be the Stormy Daniels thing. And
I mean, if you're gonna start at the bottom.
I, I mean, it's just that his people don't appear to care about that. There aren't every voter knows what the deal is, and not
Mhm.
very many people are going to care about the election violation part of it. I mean,
Right.
it's not very much money. It's not even a 10-second ad in Florida.
But
So
here's the thing though. It's not a for me. I don't necessarily care if his people, they don't care. His followers don't care about none of this. All of
right.
this is just persecution of the Messiah, and they're waiting for him to be crucified so he can come back in 3 days and hopefully smell better. But I think what what I think is the crux of it is, will he be convicted of anything? And I think there's a good chance of him catching some repercussions, if not
Oh,
time, from some
oh,
of
I
the trial, which could change his eligibility at some point.
Well, there isn't anything apparently in election law, as improbable as this would appear to be. There isn't apparently anything in election law that would uh, prevent him from doing it, even if he's convicted. The question would be whether or not that would begin to tip the scales if he is convicted of this. And I think there's
Mhm.
probably a fairly high chance of conviction on this just because it's so narrow and it's not very complex. It's the facts are what the facts are. So that being the case, it calls to mind, okay, so what does this mean? Are there any voters anywhere who think that this is a big enough problem that it shouldn't be, it should make them vote not for him? That's the question. Is it actually going to tip anybody to say, I don't want to vote for him because he has been convicted of this relatively minor financial crime? That's the question.
That is a question.
And I don't know that is something that's going to be answered to my satisfaction. I think the overall landscape of things that are going on across the country with GOP and intransigence, and now this whole thing about Ukraine. And there's a very interesting clip of Mitch McConnell advocating for Ukraine aid, which, I mean, it's not exactly unusual because Mitch McConnell is,
He's a Mitch.
yeah, he's a Mitch. But Trump trying to prevent the Ukraine deal, Trump trying to actively working to prevent the immigration package,
And
which
look how inappropriate all of this is. He is
super
not
inappropriate.
a political figure. I mean, he is not a sitting officer of any court, any Congress, any executive branch. He's just a dude with a warrant. Why is he being allowed to even influence or have any say in anything?
But he is the framework of the party, and it's going to take, I mean, Haley is not going to get the nomination. It's going to take something so major like losing again against Biden. If he loses twice, it's not going to be rigged, and that's not going to work anymore.
No, bro, you just lose because you're a loser.
Plus, it'll be 4 more years before he could run, and then he would be 80. And if you look at him, he is like a rabid dog. He is not representing himself in the best possible light. And this particular thing speaks to that. So after the New Hampshire primary, relatively early in the evening, when Nikki was only about 7 points behind, as opposed to the 11 points that she ended up behind, she came out in a pretty dress to a crowd that was screaming and yelling in support of her and all this. I mean, I guess at that point, some of them thought maybe there was a chance she could turn the tide, whatever. But she gets out and she says, you know, people who thought that this race was going to be over tonight are wrong. And then they screamed, and she just gave a positive, hey, great job, thank you, we're going to take this to South Carolina, my home state, da 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 da, we're going to do this, and we're going to keep running, and put in a couple of jabs about his own mental fitness and all these sorts of things, and
his age,
and his age, and all of that. And then she dipped out, and
she did a cameo.
Trump lost his ever loving ish. He lost it. He couldn't even be congratulatory to himself in his decisive win in a place where there was at least a chance he might not have won. He went nuts. And of course, Haley commented on it, how he didn't speak about the American people. He talked about revenge. He didn't congratulate his supporters. It was all about me. And she really got under his skin, so much so that a GOP operative said, you know, she baited him and he fell right into her trap. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not so much that that's going to win her South Carolina. It's not. And we're going to get to that in a second, because there's some other folks from South Carolina who really showed something about themselves that is somewhat embarrassing this week in the aftermath of New Hampshire. But it means that she is providing a space for people to knit prayer quilts and pray the rosary for Donald's defeat, because she is an alternative. And although she's coming into the fight a lot later, and Chris Christie tried to bring a lot of that energy, Chris Christie tried to compete with Trump as Trump. And she is counter-programming Trump by being rational and intelligent.
Here's another thing about that. Chris Christie, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, that whole group that was around when Trump first got the nomination on the floor at the RNC back in 2016. Don't tell me he's an idiot, he's a fool, he's a buffoon, I can't stand him, and then let me catch you kissing his ass later. Because that speaks to your credibility. And then try to turn around and say, oh, he's always been a buffoon. Then why was you kissing a buffoon's ass then? Now, Nikki has been a supporter of his in the past. She has been not heavily so. Yeah, she said, "Oh, he's president, and she's, well, I don't see color, and it's not a racist country," but she doesn't have that history of um, flakiness when it comes to that. She supported him, and now she's like, you know what? No, and it hits differently. She can do that, and it is getting under his skin. It's going to continue to get under his skin. And even though she may not win the nomination, she is absolutely a thorn in his rather expansive side.
No,
right?
Without question. Now, a person who is not thorny at all in that side is a particularly broadly gummed clown named Tim Scott. And my frat brother Charles Blow had a little something to say about that.
If Scott had any pride and dignity left, Donald Trump just made him surrender it. My name is Charles Blow, and I've been columnist at the New York Times. Take a look at this disturbing scene from last night's winning speech by Donald Trump in New Hampshire.
Did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician.
That is what happens when you make the toxic male your alpha male. And now you must bow and scrape and genuflect to appease him. You can have no dignity. You can have no honor. You can have no pride. You can have no sense of self-respect. I've never held Tim Scott in very high regard, and this is why. Let me know what you think.
So it's amazing how craven Tim Scott was in that moment. But Donald Trump got pronouns wrong. Of all things to get wrong, he got pronouns wrong. So she endorsed me. He was talking about Tim Scott endorsing him.
Mm-hmm.
You're the senator from his state. He meant to say her state because it was Nikki's state.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Scott is the senator from South Carolina currently, after he was reelected after Nikki appointed him. So even in that moment, and he did not expect Tim Scott to say anything.
No, and didn't ask him to.
He was going to barrel on through, but Tim Scott felt he had to say something.
Can I pass up this opportunity to lick this left testicle? Let me get that. There.
I just love you.
Let me tell you something. I don't remember. Now, I am a big fan of Barack Obama. Not to say he's perfect or anything, but I don't remember anyone sucking up to him like that because he didn't ask for it, because it wasn't necessary. But yes, your frat brother made a very good point in that once you bow down, there's no getting up. You stay down there and you continue to eat whatever scraps are thrown your way because you have given up your humanity. And now you are a dog licking the boots of your owner. And that is a shame. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Good luck to you, Tim Scott.
Well, to be fair, when you were talking about Obama, in 2008, Obama was the underdog.
True that.
For a lot of the race. And then by the time 2012 came around, he was the incumbent. So there weren't any other people going against him. Right. But imagine this, right? Tim Scott's fiance accepted his marriage proposal.
You still saying this?
Yeah, earlier this week,
Okay.
the divorcee, uh, yeah, the the Palmy divorcee,
Mm.
accepted his marriage proposal. Now, you see your man on television talking to Donald Trump saying,
Love you.
I just love you. After you kicked your political patron in the Tifus. What do they call that? The ick? Is that what they say in the dating world today? The ick if
That's the ick of it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
like somebody does something, it's just like, oh no, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Legs shut for business. Like
Right.
you can't
Nothing
no,
but dust now, son. Yeah. Yeah.
no,
I'm
we're done.
drying up as we speak. Just
Yeah. So this is your man.
is it though?
Who well,
This is your. You know what? I don't want to suffer any defamation attempts, so I'm gonna be quiet.
these are your gums. How about that? Is that fair? These are your gums.
All of them.
Good luck with that, Tim. Good luck with that. Just loving Trump. And you're not going to be vice president. Just so we're clear, you're not going to be vice president. And actually, this is one of the truisms of the not racist GOP. Tim Scott would have had a better chance if he had found a Candace Owens clone
Mm-hmm.
to be his wife, because they are not going to support that black man with that white
And his
woman.
gums all over that white woman.
That is,
And
that is the most
even though
pernicious.
even though they are the non-racist party or whatever they want to say, there was also another article in the news this week that said that it was a black GOP supporter who was at a rally, and he is gay, I believe, and they called him all sorts of racist and homophobic slurs. And he's a member of the party. He's supposed to be, exceptional along with them. And he found out real quick, nah, bro, they don't like nothing about you. And they never had. You're the one that was disillusioned, right? They always knew what they thought you were. You were confused about what you thought they were. There's a question here in the chat that I want to make sure we touch on. Shay's question. As usual, what will swing voters do? Those pissed with the government, both sides are bad kind of folks. Has a significant number of them decided it's time to rescue democracy or America, and have him be put out to pasture? So the swing voters are getting bigger because we're losing potentials on both sides of the aisle. There are people that are like, I'm not voting for Biden. And there are people that are saying, I'm not voting for Trump. Again, there is, maybe for the first time in recent history, a real opportunity for a third person to enter this race and screw it all up.
Well, I mean, that's
Nikki,
happened.
go independent and do what you want. I don't even like her, but still.
Well, I mean, Jill Stein did it. Ralph Nader did it. I mean, there's those people. There are spoiler candidates. There's not been a third party candidate in the modern political era who's gotten even one electoral college vote. But on the margins, these are very tight elections. 2016 was tight and 2020 was tight. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there is an absolutely clear path. What can be said is that what New Hampshire taught us is that in an environment where there are lots of undeclared and there are lots of suburban and there are lots of college educated folks, mm-hmm. Nikki Haley pulled them. And a lot of those folks are not coming back to Trump just because he's the GOP guy. Trump is scaring people.
Yes. And he should be, well, he should scare anybody, honestly. But the very fact that he is as scary a figure as he is, and he's talking about becoming a dictator, there are plenty of GOP people. You talk about wanting your freedom and all this other sort of stuff. A dictator is not guaranteeing you your freedom. No.
The dictator is going to do whatever the dictator wants to do. And some people don't like that.
And from a historical perspective, 90, I'm going to just say 90, just because I don't think it's absolute. 90% of the dictators in history turn on their own people at some point.
Oh, of course.
And so there's no protection standing behind him, or you can't stand beside him. You don't want to stand behind them, but there's no support there, right? So, what is the benefit to continuing to support a person that you know is going to turn on you, you know is going to not do anything, and could potentially ruin the country for your family, your children, your progeny, your legacy, your reputation? There's no upside to this from what I can see, not even in the short term.
You look through the history of Donald Trump's entanglements, problems, troubles. Find me one person, one, who he was loyal to his own detriment. There are people he's loyal to, but in the face of harming him, find me one person he has taken a bullet for, one bus track that has been on his back on behalf of somebody else. You got a whole bunch of people who went to jail on Jan 6 who came out thinking, damn, I was an idiot. That's plenty of people not voting for him right now anyway.
He would step over Ivanka and throw Eric in the way to save himself.
No question. No question. I mean, I think he'd throw Eric before Ivanka, but
no, he would step on Ivanka because she might live through that. Eric's catching that bullet right in the face.
Okay, so I'd say Tiffany.
Are we doing like Mary F. killed with the kids?
So
Tiffany's not even there.
No, Tiffany's a human.
She was offered up as a sacrificial lamb in the first
right. The only one who's absolutely safe is Barron, because Barron looks the most like him, and he's the youngest, and Melania is never going to let Trump see Barron again. So that's kind of what I think. Tiffany, Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, Barron.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Barron's pretty much bulletproof. Speaking of political chicanery that doesn't involve Trump, but does involve some state folks, because we talked about Florida, state legislative foolishness. One of the things that was a bright spot to me was a video that we saw about a woman explaining the situation in the Oregon legislature. Let's take a look.
Not every state allows it, but boy is it awesome when voters can put initiatives on their ballots. Here in Oregon, we've been dealing with an issue where our Republican lawmakers who've been in the minority have been essentially playing hooky from the legislature and not showing up at all to prevent the majority from taking any kinds of votes. In our legislature, you have to have a certain number of people to even take a vote at all. So instead of voting no on progressive legislation that they don't like, they've been preventing the legislature from being able to do any kind of work by fleeing the state or not showing up. Because this has happened for multiple legislative cycles, Oregonians just got fed up. So in 2022, we put an initiative on the ballot saying that if a legislator didn't show up, they had 10 unexcused absences from work, that they would not qualify to be reelected. It passed overwhelmingly with over 68% of voters voting yes. So what happened in 2023? Well, a whole bunch of Republicans decided to walk out on 6 weeks of work. So now's the time that they have to put in their paperwork to be reelected, and the Secretary of State says, sorry, you don't qualify, you missed more than 10 days of work. So those Republicans sued to get back on the ballot, and a judge this week said, sorry, that's the law. Big win for Oregon voters.
So, go ahead, Joel.
Hats off to Oregon. That is freaking awesome. That's what democracy should look like. That's what civic involvement should look like. You know what? You're not doing your job. You out of here. We're going to make it so that anybody coming behind you also has to do their job, irrespective of party. If I don't show up to work for 2 days, I'm fired. How is it that they can not show up for 6 weeks and effectively just stop all progress in the state for some petty reason, and then they still get to come back and get reelected? No, you out of here. Beat it.
And paid.
And paid. An exorbitant salary.
So the one of the interesting things is, because I looked into some of these lawsuits because they were happening in December. Some of the folks were saying, well, I'm a pastor, and you're saying that my absences on Saturday, which is when I have to do my church stuff, weren't clear. Well, you don't have church every day, and you dipped out for 6 weeks. So was that revival season? And by the way, if your religion and the practice of your religion is so important that it defeats your obligations to your job and your constituents in the state of Oregon, maybe you shouldn't be a representative for Oregon. Maybe you should just be doing your services.
Go
And that's
minister.
great. That's fine. And talking about, oh, it's a violation of my First Amendment rights and my
No, it's
duty.
not.
No, it's not.
You do not have a right to a job. That is not a right.
But also, you are in government, bro. You are in government, and your constituents told you that you had to do that.
Is that Louisiana?
Louisiana.
Move forward with creating a second minority majority district. Color me shocked because he did it at all. And he did it despite Speaker Johnson demanding that he not. Look at you, Louisiana. Just in time for Mardi Gras. I'm so proud.
Listen, y'all are not holding the house. I know that you thought you were. There was no red wave in 2022. I know that you thought there was going to be. There was no red wave in 2024. I know that you thought. And now that, I mean, there will not be a red wave in 2024. Sorry. But you have lost so much in terms of your slim majority. Now you don't have a margin for error at all. People have retired. Kevin McCarthy kicked rocks. He was done. I'm done with you people. I don't like you people no more. I got my own problems. I'm back here in California getting a much bigger paycheck. Don't care. You have no space. And there are plenty of these districts where you are going to be flopped. And so even, I honestly don't think this is what we were talking about before, as far as this race, presumptively Biden and Trump for sure.
There's a movement right now in the GOP to make Trump the presumptive candidate.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They just want to push beyond the whole primary season, which, again, wow. I mean, it would certainly clear the decks. It would allow them to conserve some money. But the legal argument about him being the nominee for president hasn't shielded him from anything. Just like being convicted doesn't prevent you from being president. Being under indictment in 91 different charges doesn't prevent you from campaigning. Just do your thing. I mean, you're just rage tweeting all the time anyway. So who cares? Just come and make these appearances. Sometimes you don't even have to appear. You're not going to testify in the criminal cases. So be on the campaign trail. Who cares?
I mean, just put a toupee on a Cheeto and let it be your surrogate.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I have a better solution. We can just send this.
Vote for me.
Just a big poster, a 24 by 36, sitting next to council of this hairline.
This looks like a trailer poster for a horror movie.
This is the next episode of True Detective Night Country. That's what
there are exactly 67 hairs on his head.
Yeah, this is woo. I'm glad I found that picture. That's a winner. We're gonna keep this in the tray.
Yes, that stays.
So Peter Navarro has had some trouble.
Petey,
Nabby. After all of that tussling and fighting, and guess what? You don't get to ignore congressional subpoena.
Hate it for you.
You don't get to. And now he's been sentenced to 4 months, just like Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months. And Steve Bannon is appealing, and Navarro wants to be kept out of jail while he's under appeal. It remains to be seen how that's going to work. But it should be said, the judge was like, nah, son, you have not shown any sort of remorse.
Why would I let you out? Why would I give you any of your requests, demands, or appeals?
You're not the victim here. He wanted probation. He wanted 6 months of probation only. He got 4 months in jail. So go on ahead, Phoebe. Handle biz. 10 toes down, as the kids say. Stand on business.
Right. You tried it. You thought you
tried
could.
it, and you failed.
But I also think this is a great, it's keeping people on their proverbial toes, because you could be next. If you were in any way involved in any of this not chicanery, your name is potentially going to be shared. You might be picked up and rounded up. And we're seeing that there is no loyalty in these hoes, right? Not a one. And people snitching left and right, taking deals,
they got the phones, they got
offering
the
up stuff that nobody even asked for. He stole something in the 3rd grade. I mean, anything.
You want my McDonald's free fries coupon?
Right.
I got a promotion from Arby's.
Or I got a gift card to Target. You can have that too.
You can have it. Take it. One of the things that we do here on the show is that we are looking through social media for clips and videos that we think you will enjoy, things that we think are important. One of the things, speaking along the line of Tim Scott and people like Elise Stefanik, who is nakedly campaigning to be Trump's vice president, was this little gem from former head of the RNC, Michael Steele. And I got to say, there was a time when I really despised Michael Steele. This is the pre-Trump era.
Yes.
He has absolutely turned it around. And, you know,
he pulled a Don Lemon on us.
He did. He flipped it. And I got to say, he's killing the game right now.
Can you tell me what you think is happening with Elise Stefanik and Tim Scott?
Elise Stefanik and Tim Scott want to be Donald Trump's vice president. It is without hesitation or doubt. So they will do the sycophantic dance. They will sound stupid defending him. They will do whatever they think will ingratiate them to Donald Trump. And that, to me, is not leadership. That is pathetic, in my view. But that's what the party wants to see. They want to see you make that level of commitment. And those of us out here who won't, we're supposedly the crazy ones. No, boo, that ain't how it is.
He said, boo.
No, boo. That ain't how it is.
That ain't how it is. And he's absolutely right, because what Tim and Elise are doing is slide to the right. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Everybody kiss Trump's ass.
Ha ha. Nice.
So it's like it's heartening to me to see people like Michael Steele, who you know are not going to vote for Trump, and people like Romney, and you know, these are individuals.
They're the quest for balls is showing fruit. They're finding themselves again.
They are, and you know, Christy, there are going to be plenty of folks who will not kiss the ring. There's some who, I think Asa Hutchinson has already endorsed him, and obviously there's a huge groundswell in the mainline GOP, the Trumpy section of the MAGA GOP, whatever. Go on ahead and just make a MAGA party, by the way. I'd rather have some sane conservative Republicans as a legitimate party.
I will take freaking Bush over anybody that's out there right now. And that is, I can't believe I'm saying that. I miss Romney. You know, give me McCain, God rest his little soul. You know, people that made sense. People that had some level, some line in their moral pathway that they wouldn't cross. With judgment, ethics. Even if I didn't agree with their politics, even if I thought they were swindlers and they were stealing money from the coffers of the United States, they didn't try to turn us into a dictatorship.
It's hard to believe we have come to this.
Like I said, the last time we were on camera, the first thing you mentioned when you talked about a viable GOP candidate was he's coherent. The bar is so low.
So low. And Vivek hornswoggled me when I first heard him on NPR. I said, wow, I was worried because, you know, this is the problem. And I got in trouble over the holiday getting into a conversation about women presidential candidates. And people were talking about how someone like Hillary had worked so hard behind the scenes with her husband and And I said, you know, what country do you think you live in if you think America is a meritocracy? It's not like the best, most qualified person is the one who gets the job. It just doesn't work that way. I don't know what would make you believe it could possibly work that way, because it just doesn't. And so the idea that just because someone has a certain skill set, just because they're moral, just because they really are committed, whether or not you believe their political stance, but are committed to the preservation and uplift of the country, that doesn't matter. The GOP has determined that all they care about is kissing the ass of a fallen celebrity who is a convicted sexual abuser, a serial fraudster, a serial philanderer, so many unpresidential aspects of who he is.
I want to
God,
touch on
just somebody boring. Walter Mondale. Can we have somebody who just has some
right.
sense and is dry as hell? I'll take dry.
I'll take dry. Dry is safe. I'm fine with dry. But I want to touch on his Trump's cult of personality. We've talked about this before. A lot of people have nostalgic feelings towards him when he was younger and sex symbol back in the day. A lot of people see him as the poster child for I can be stupid and still be rich. A lot of people see him as the pinnacle of American superiority and the American dream because he's got allegedly a bunch of money. But my point with this is when you have a cult, the way it becomes dismantled is to slowly, piece by piece, get people out. Right. Until the people that are there start to recognize that people are leaving. And I believe that that's what we're starting to see with the defection of Chris Christie, Nikki Haley being able to needle him and get under his skin. Other people saying, we can't keep doing this. This is dumb. Let's not do this anymore. We just saw your boy Michael Steele be like, nah, this is crazy. The more people that we have that do that, the better chance we have of that cult breaking apart, because a lot of people are following it because it's the popular thing to do and all their friends are doing it. So if we can get one of their friends to just wake up and go, hey, you know what? This is dumb. I'm not doing this. It shakes the foundation of the cult, which is all built on smoke and mirrors anyway. That house of cards comes tumbling down. So it's a race at this point. Will we get enough critical mass or groundswell of this is dumb to happen before that RNC nomination? Because there's even up to the day, there's still a possibility that they change their mind on the floor.
I'm gonna put. You said something earlier about DeSantis, and so I'm gonna put some ninjutsu up in this.
Okay.
Ron DeSantis knows that he was defeated because Trump is still a political figure. There is no path for Ron DeSantis to move forward politically as long as Trump is a voice and has a voice. And Ron DeSantis knows that the best way to shut Donald Trump's voice up is to make sure that he isn't elected president again. Now, Ron DeSantis can't be reelected in Florida. So he has nothing to lose by just sitting quietly, doing what Cruz didn't do. Cruz jumped and started kissing ass. Donald Trump all but called Ron DeSantis a pedophile.
Yeah.
All but called him a pedophile. Called him Ron DeSanctimonious, attacked him mercilessly, which gave Nikki Haley cover, because while Ron was drawing all the fire, Nikki Haley was just like,
she tried to run for the end zone. Yep.
I'm the sane one, so shh, I'm not here. And it has worked. I mean, she's in the race longer than DeSantis. DeSantis made a very reasonable choice because the money had dried up. People weren't interested in him anymore. So if Ron is just tepid, he's already shanked the $5 million thing, which makes him look good, like a grown-up. Vivek is on the trail. I don't know if in Chan's thing is Vivek C-3PO and Tim Scott is R2-D2. I mean, Tim Scott is bald and R2-D2 is bald. And also R2-D2 makes a whole bunch of noises that are otherwise unintelligible to human beings who don't know his language. And I guess the same could be said for Tim Scott. And then Vivek is just, oh, Mr. Trump, shut up, C-3PO. Oh, all right, I guess I'll just go. So, I mean, that's actually a pretty apropos thing. But I wonder if
I will say, I know that you're saying that there are two people of color, two POC sycophants, but I read Tupac and I was like,
I
what?
sure did, and I thought I saw C3PO. So, I guess if DeSantis really wanted to be tricky and claim he was supporting Trump, but not really, because he's not going to do campaign stops. I mean, Trump is going to come to Florida, but Florida's real tricky with the Mar-a-Lago thing, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Mhm.
All DeSantis needs to do is be consumed with other stuff. And because Gates is down there, Gates is a big Trump guy. He has proxies in the
Yeah.
state of Florida. Scott, Rick Scott, Florida's Senator Scott.
All the oranges.
Yeah, the whole groves, every grove.
Right.
He's got plenty of proxies. So the point is that Ron DeSantis could be real tricky, and that would be the unkindest cut of all for him to make it that much more difficult for Trump to win. And if Trump doesn't get Florida, it's definitely around. I mean,
Yeah.
in the general, he's
And
going
the
to
way the way my petty is set up, I do everything in my power to
Oh.
make sure he did not win Florida.
No, just whatever.
Just because.
Just because you decided I'm a very popular governor, and it's not just because of you, although his stock is declining anyway. We'll see how things work out with this Disney stuff. But
that is something else I wanted to bring up. We don't have a slide for it, but I read in the news that Texas, well, it's Houston. I had another story coming out of Houston, but this one is there's a huge swath of land in Houston where Six Flags Astroworld used to sit, and they're looking to redevelop that into another theme park. But as far as they've gotten, it's just saying we could put another theme park here. Yo, Disney, Orlando, rattle that saber. Tell them you pick up all your shit and go to Houston and chill out there. We'll take the money and the economy, and it'll be a big snub to the state of Florida and DeSantis in particular as the governor that lost Disney. Or just open up a third location for everybody that can't make it to the coastlines and put it right there in Houston. But it would be nice to make real on the threat of, look, we will pack up all these rides and be up out of here. You still got access to all your cruise lines. Let them fly out of, let them sail out of Galveston. I'm making a whole business plan here.
Well, I will say this. Disney's not walking away from Walt Disney World Resort. They have, there's too much. It is the anchor of the Walt Disney World Resort family. That's a multi-billion-dollar division. They have built Celebration Florida. They have built Disney vacation homes. They're definitely not walking away from all that. And what they are going to find is that the next Florida governor is going to be much more amenable to giving them back control over the little special
the city of Disney,
the Reedy Creek thing or whatever. They're going to get that all right back. And when DeSantis loses this case, they may well get administration of their special administrative district back. I mean, it just remains to be seen. But it is interesting when you bring up Texas and what's going on in Texas, and Governor Abbott, nakedly threatening secession this week, which, I mean, come on.
I mean, they do teach us that in Texas history, which is a class in Texas, that the state reserves the right to divide itself into 5 other states at any given time. And we can just decide to leave whenever we want to. That was part of the contract of getting into the union in the first place, is this is a temporary thing. We're not looking for a commitment.
Right. Well, give me the state of Houston and let the rest of them be engaged in border conflicts with the rest of the United States. I'm good. Let's make the state of Houston a blue state, and then those other 4 states can kick rocks. I really don't.
It'll be the state of West Louisiana.
Exactly. Not West Louisiana. Westla. So we're nearing the end of the show. We've only got about 10 minutes left, and one of the videos that we had pulled up this week, which I thought was very interesting, and it kind of deals with Joy's wheelhouse with DEI stuff. So I'm going to let you intro this clip about white male entitlement and privilege in the workplace.
Yes. Whew. So The video we're about to show is a little bit, it's only about a minute and a half long, but the speaker is talking about the phenomena that we're seeing where so many like cishet white men are saying that they feel oppressed and put upon. And he talks about how wrong that is. Go ahead and just roll that beautiful bean footage, would you?
These are four angry white men who believed that they, white men in America, were the victims of reverse discrimination in the workplace. And they all told stories about how they were qualified for jobs, qualified for promotions. They didn't get them. They were really angry. And the reason I'm telling you this is I want you to hear the title of this particular show. It was a quote from one of the men. And the quote was, "A black woman stole my job." And then it was my turn to speak. And I said, I have just one question for you guys. And it's about the title of the show. A black woman stole my job. Actually, it's about one word in the title. I want to know about the word my. Where did you get the idea it was your job? Why isn't the title of the show A Black Woman Got the Job or A Black Woman Got a Job? Because without confronting men's sense of entitlement, I don't think we'll ever understand why so many men resist gender equality. We think this is a level playing field. So any policy that tilts it even a little bit, we think, oh my God, water's rushing uphill. It's reverse discrimination against us. So let me be very clear. White men in Europe and the United States are the beneficiaries of the single greatest affirmative action program in the history of the world. It is called the history of the world.
It is called the history of the world.
I love that.
Literally.
Like
that's an amazing statement.
Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true because when we think about what we consider, think about if I say literary classic, you're going to Europe. You're going to Chaucer, Shakespeare, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, whatever it might be. You're not going to Japan. You're not, which is an older civilization. You're not going to China. You're not going to the continent of Africa. They've convinced us that they started everything. And that is the biggest lie. They didn't invent not anything. Exactly, Anthony. The caucasity of some folks.
Caucasity.
But to this point about
this level playing field, though, thing that killed me.
Mm-hmm.
Water's rushing upstream. We're being discriminated against.
But that is so prevalent in the work that I do. I hear whispers of it because they never want to talk about that to me to my face. But I hear whispers of it. I will bring it up in the discussions that I'm having with my clients. Like, look, we got to talk about the fact that white men are feeling marginalized and feeling left out. Now, yes, ma'am. Yes, I will absolutely send you that clip. Now, well, like you said, the word I want to talk about is my. The presumption that you're supposed to have it just because you want it speaks to more than just how they act at work. Think about what I'm saying. You're supposed to have it because you want it. Think about the way we are still trying to overcome rape culture in this country. You're supposed to have it because you want it. It's the same thing. And if you don't get it, it's a problem with the person that's withholding it from you. And it allows you to decide, because you're trying to make it fair in your mind, that whatever violence you enact upon that is perfectly fine. So I'm going to protest this. I'm going to sue or countersue or whatever it might be. Oh, thank you for putting that in there. I'm going to sue or countersue, whatever it might be, in order to make it feel good to me, because it's not fair. It's just what they want, because they want it. They want to conquer once again. And anything that stops them from being able to coast their way into everything and make them have to actually, I don't know, study. Like they said, they are qualified. You know how many other people have been qualified for jobs and didn't get them? It is okay if you are qualified and you don't get a job. There'll be another one if you're really qualified. But if you've been sitting around kissing up and glad handing and doing the good old boy network dance, and then somebody who's more qualified than you got the job because ultimately the company needs to make money. A black woman took my job. Did she? Or did a black woman beat you at your own game?
By having the qualities and qualifications that were actually best appropriate for the job. Mm-hmm. Speaking of people in job security and job qualifications, I just want to remind folks, if Trump is elected, you are going to see the utter destruction of the entire infrastructure of the government bureaucracy, fashioned into an image of pure idol worship for Trump.
It will
You're
be
not
the
gonna
Kang dynasty.
You are not going to have anybody with an original thought in their head. You're not going to have anybody who would seek to even momentarily uh, stifle his most naked lizard brain impulses. It is not going to happen. This country, Ron DeSantis said, well, I might run if there's a country left in 2028. If Trump is elected, you may well not see it. And that's a hyperbolic statement. We
But
always
not
presume.
much.
But it's you're talking about a man who is telling you right now he is going to wrest powers.
Right.
And make
He is
sure
going to hunt down and potentially execute his enemies.
he's trying to be Putin, who incidentally tried to say this week that the sale of Alaska to the United States was not legitimate.
I mean, they can have it. Go ahead.
No, True Detective Night Country is set in Alaska.
It can still be set in Alaska.
Listen, before the end of the show, I know that you wanted to talk. We talked about American Fiction briefly last week, but I know that you want to tell the audience about a film that you really enjoyed this week, and that film is
The Book of Clarence. I saw this just on a humbug. I had seen some of. Oh, I'm sorry, CJ. I did not know that you were from Alaska, but I apologize for that. Every advantage known to man has been afforded to white men, so that's the baseline. An artificial one that has their delusional selves thinking that anything challenging that is reversing equality. Yes, they want to take their ball and go home when they stole the ball in the first place. We're not going to.
We're not going to let them take Alaska.
But Book of Clarence, I'm telling you right now, I laughed so hard in this movie. We were not in a theater where you've been to movies before, and the theater experience adds to the enjoyment of the movie because you got your people around you, y'all all cutting up. Like when we all went to see like School Days or Friday, it kind of had that feeling. Now, I will say, some of the detractors are saying that it tries too hard to be deep. Yeah, it did. I don't care because it succeeded at being hilarious, and it was Black people hilarious. And what I mean by that is there were several things that me and the group of people that were around me, I wasn't with them, but I'm on the road with other African Americans. We are kicking our feet laughing. We are whoa, that. It was a good time, and it's a really good story. Even though they do try to be deep, it's not that they don't achieve it, is that it's so obvious what they're trying to do. The parallels they're trying to make. It doesn't require heavy lifting, which honestly, sometimes you don't need to be doing heavy lifting in a movie. It's really good. Yeah.
It's a movie.
If you don't like it, I will have the theater refund your money. I'm not giving it to you, but I will say that it was a good movie.
Well, what I will say is that there are two apparently really worthwhile movies about the Black experience. 3 if you count Color Purple. So go see award-nominated, award-winning American Fiction. Jeffrey Wright has been nominated for an Oscar. He's probably not going to get it because Oppenheimer, also The Holdovers. So if Cillian Murphy doesn't get it for Oppenheimer, which I gotta say, that was a strong movie. It was a strong performance by a strong actor in a very long movie, which was better than I thought it was. Robert Downey Jr. was absolutely amazing in there. I haven't seen Holdovers, but I like Paul Giamatti, and I understand that Holdovers is really good. But not talking about them, American Fiction, look at this cast. Sterling Brown, Tracy Ellis Ross, Jeffrey Wright, Issa Rae, and Erica Alexander, who for whatever reason did not make above title billing in this ensemble cast. It's an excellent ensemble cast. Issa Rae is a revelation. So between, thank you, Anthony. I agree. I want Book of Cal. You can always depend on Chad.
At least one.
in there at the last minute. You go keep something in there. So go see Clarence. Go see American Fiction. If you haven't seen Color Purple, go see Color Purple. Support Black creative vision, please. We don't get enough support, and these are stories that are unique. These are definitely stories that fall well outside the range of what we are normally expected to consume as far as Black stories are concerned.
Right, because for me, American Fiction is closer in spirit to the producers than it is to, Don't Be a Menace to South Central.
Right.
It's a well written and and it comes from the book Erasure. If you haven't read it, and I went with a person who had read the book, my friend Cheryl, and she was like, honestly, they do some things in the movie better than they did in the book. So that's a rousing recommendation for me because it is hard to do.
Well, it's not surprising when you have someone as talented as Jeffrey Wright as your lead character,
and an extremely heavy supporting cast.
But this is what I'm saying.
Heavyweights on screen, yeah.
And when you think of a book, this has got to read the character that Jeffrey plays has got to read as kind of pedantic and aloof and without putting a human face on it. If you're just imagining a somewhat faceless character in the book navigating this, it's very different than seeing Jeffrey Wright go through it.
Yeah.
And seeing what Jeffrey Wright has to experience in terms of everything that he's juggling while he's trying to juggle it in the rest of this film. And so Leslie Uggams is amazing, and she's not listed, but she's amazing. And then there's this housekeeper / maid / whatever character, and she has a surprise little arc that
they do such a good job. Yeah, this is the best slice of life that I've seen, and it's so real. It's so realistic. And from my understanding, I don't want to spoil the movie because if I say anything more,
exactly.
But they make a lot of artistic choices in the movie that elevate the story from the book.
Right.
And now going back to the Book of Clarence, there's a lot of cameos in there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of people. I was like, oh shit, you in this movie? Why? When did you get in here? I don't want to spoil it for you.
So let's just go see it, go support it, and do it before it gets in video on demand or Amazon Prime. Go to the theater and support these movies. I'm going to go see Book of Clarence this weekend, and so I hope that it gets more support. It could use more support. American Fiction can definitely use more support, but at least American Fiction has some awards heat behind it. So
one small detail that I like that I read, one of my friends made a comment and said they were jarred by this. In the Book of Clarence, most of them speak with a quasi Wakandan / African accent. And so some folks are like, that African accent didn't make sense. Do you know where they were?
Hello. Middle East. Hello.
Do you know where the Nile is, bro?
Right.
So I did like that little
was. I mean,
yeah, it's not an Oscar-worthy movie, but it's absolutely worth seeing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there no big surprises in terms of the Oscar nominations. I was very gratified to see that Coleman Domingo got nominated for playing Bayard Rustin in Rustin. So you got two brothers, Coleman and Jeffrey, vying for actor in the lead role. And then you've got Bradley Cooper and Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. It would be interesting if people were so in love with either Paul Giamatti or Cillian Murphy that they split the vote and Jeffrey or Coleman Domingo gets to slip in there. I'd be very happy if that were the case.
That's the power of a third-party candidate right there.
That's the power of a third-party candidate. Make it happen. Come on down.
Rustin is on Netflix if you want to check that out.
It is, yes. You can watch Rustin now, free with your Netflix subscription. So you can go on ahead and do that.
And happy 100th birthday to your grandmother, CJ.
Hey, yeah, happy birthday. That's awesome.
And with that, we're going to bring our show to a close today. I want to reiterate, we said this once before, I'm going to say it to you again. We are looking for people that want to come on the show and be interviewed. We're going to start having a segment where we carve out, say, 10, 15 minutes to have a discussion with you about whatever you want to talk about. You want to come on, you want to talk about your art or your work or your point of view or your take on the things that we talk about, or special on mental health, special on sports, whatever it might be. Hey, I want to come talk about this. Let us know. We're looking for people.
We'll give you the space and the platform to share it with our audience, because among other things, Steel Sharpens Steel is about expanding our perspectives, offering our perspectives, and making sure that those things are heard and seen. And so we are happy to do that. And with that, I will say, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I am Joy Stevens.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. Bye-bye, folks.